Jake Morales never imagined his own backyard would become the scene of a near-police raid or that the call would come from across the street, courtesy of the self-appointed queen of their neighborhood, Karen Wilkins. The irony was rich. Jake wasn't just any homeowner. He was a respected police captain, hosting a peaceful housewarming party filled with family, friends, and off-duty officers, all fellow members of the force. What was supposed to be a quiet celebration in their new home at Ashford Hills quickly spiraled into a surreal display of HOA entitlement gone wild. It began as a perfect evening. Jake and his wife, Lena, had worked hard to make their backyard warm and inviting. Paper lanterns swayed from tree branches, a buffet table stood ready with burgers and Lena's famous lemon bars, and soft music played from a speaker tucked under the patio. They had invited a small circle. Close friends, family, and Jake's fellow officers. Nothing loud, nothing disruptive. Just a gathering of good people looking to enjoy the start of a new chapter. But as laughter echoed over the fence and kids tossed a ball near the edge of the yard, Karen Wilkins watched from her porch, wine glass in hand, eyes narrowed. Known as the head of the Ashford Hills HOA, Karen had made a name for herself issuing violation notices and nitpicking over trivialities like mailbox height and garden gnome placement. When the Morales family moved in, they quickly learned that Karen's welcome wagon came with rules, restrictions, and more paperwork than a mortgage signing. That night, as Officer Tina Grant strolled by the fence, still wearing her sidearm and badge lanyard from a long shift, Karen's suspicions sparked. Without asking a single question, without walking the few steps across the street to inquire, she picked up her phone and dialed 911. Her report, later pulled from the call logs, was dramatic. A gang of armed impersonators gathered, flashing fake badges and posing a threat to neighborhood safety. She claimed an illegal assembly of over 20 people. The dispatcher, unaware of the full context, sent patrol cars immediately. Lights flashing. Sirens screaming. The squad car pulled up, tires screeching as two young officers, Romero and Sullivan, emerged, hands near their holsters, scanning the scene. From where they stood, all they could see were people standing in a yard, some with badges, some with sidearms. Not knowing whose house they were approaching, they followed procedure, calling out loudly for everyone to stay put and keep their hands visible. Jake, holding a drink, froze for a split second before walking calmly toward the officers, holding up his badge. Captain Jake Morales. ID 7460. This is my home. These are my officers. Officer Romero blinked, processing what he was seeing. Sullivan's eyes widened as he spotted Deputy Chief Raburn casually holding a lemonade nearby, his jaw hanging open. Raburn's deadpan comment summed up the absurdity of the moment. "You have got to be kidding me." As the tension melted into confusion and awkward chuckles, Manny, another off-duty officer, raised his red Solo cup and grinned. "Well, this is a first rated by our own rookies." But Jake wasn't laughing. Not yet. His eyes locked on Karen Wilkins, standing across the street with her wine glass raised in a smug toast, utterly oblivious to the damage she'd just risked causing. This wasn't just annoying. It was dangerous. Jake knew exactly how fast a misunderstanding like this could turn deadly. One false move, one nervous twitch, and this mistake could have ended with someone hurt or worse. Karen's careless weaponization of 911 wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a threat. The responding officers, apologetic and flustered, backed down quickly as the truth became clear. But Jake's fury simmered beneath the surface. The party resumed, though the mood had shifted. Jake stood near the grill, going through the motions, but his mind was racing. Across the yard, Lena leaned in close and whispered, "She really just called the cops on your own team." Jake nodded, jaw clenched. "And she thinks she can get away with it." Karen, still on her porch, now spoke loudly into her phone, bragging about pressing charges against fake officers and maintaining safety. Officer Tina Grant, standing nearby, began recording her from a discreet distance. Manny leaned in. "You want me to send this to IA?" he asked. Jake took a long breath, eyes still locked on Karen. "No," he said. "I'll handle her myself." He knew this wasn't just HOA nonsense anymore. This was a false report. This was slander. And he was going to make sure Karen Wilkins understood exactly what that meant. By the next morning, the incident was all over the neighborhood Facebook group, thanks to Karen's own post titled, "Suspicious Gathering at 84 Stonebridge Drive." She included a blurry photo snapped from behind her curtains, along with a breathless description of the intimidating event. The comments were a mixed bag, some praising her diligence, others rolling their eyes. One particularly bold neighbor, Alex, simply commented, "Karen, you need help." Jake didn't engage online. Instead, he worked. He compiled an official report, attached the video footage Tina had captured, the responding officer's statements, the 911 transcript courtesy of a helpful friend at dispatch, and statements from his neighbors, including several who were ready to testify they had no issue with the party and had never been contacted by Karen prior to the call. The city attorney and internal affairs flagged the case as serious civilian misconduct. What Karen had done wasn't just annoying. It qualified as abuse of emergency services and public defamation. Jake also reached out to Alex Benson, the civil rights attorney who lived a few blocks away and who had his own history of clashes with Karen, once beating her in mediation over the color of his porch paint. Alex reviewed the materials and whistled. "You've got her," he said. "This is harassment, defamation, and a textbook abuse of authority. She won't know what hit her." But Karen wasn't done. She doubled down, slipping a letter into Jake's mailbox on HOA letterhead accusing him of violating neighborhood safety protocols with an unauthorized paramilitary gathering. The letter was so over the top it was almost funny. Lena read it aloud in a mock British accent, and Jake filmed the reading for his buddies. It made them laugh but also steeled Jake's resolve. He attended the next HOA meeting, walking into the packed clubhouse and taking a seat near the front. Karen, standing confidently at the podium in a bright red blazer, began her speech by referencing the recent incident and framing herself as the protector of community safety. Jake waited until she finished the opening remarks before calmly raising his hand. "Did those neighbors who expressed concern include anyone other than you?" he asked. Karen flushed. "I don't have to disclose, because I have signed statements from 6 neighbors who say you never contacted them. I also have the 911 transcript where you accused off-duty law enforcement of impersonating police officers." The room went still. Karen's hands trembled as she fumbled her notes. "This isn't a courtroom, Mr. Morales." "No," Jake said, standing slowly, "but the next place we meet might be." The room buzzed with whispers as Jake turned and walked out, leaving Karen pale and speechless behind him. At home, Jake and Lena worked alongside Alex to build the civil suit. They gathered testimonies from neighbors who'd been targeted by Karen before the family fined for a basketball hoop, the couple harassed over string lights, the delivery driver accused of casing homes when he was simply looking for a dropped phone. Patterns emerged. Karen had weaponized the HOA. She had used its bylaws like blunt instruments to control, intimidate, and punish. Jake filed formal complaints for false reporting, harassment, and defamation. But Karen, true to form, didn't back down. Instead, she escalated, mailing out a fresh batch of violation notices, slapping petty infractions on anyone she perceived as against her. But this time, the neighborhood pushed back. Residents started posting their violation letters online. One neighbor hung a sign beneath his wind chimes that read, "Now with extra volume, just for you, Karen." When Karen called for an emergency HOA meeting to restore order, the room was half empty. Those who did show up met her buzzwords of community safety and declining standards with skepticism and a growing sense of rebellion. It wasn't long before the city stepped in. The investigation Jake had sparked uncovered financial discrepancies. HOA funds misused for personal projects on Karen's property, payments funneled to a relative's landscaping company under bogus invoices, and enforcement bonuses paid out to herself. Fraud. Plain and simple. Karen's iron grip crumbled fast. The city froze the HOA's discretionary funds pending a full audit. A court date loomed. And as the case gained traction, neighbors who once stayed silent began speaking up, sharing their own stories of Karen's bullying tactics. By the time the audit revealed the depths of her misconduct, Karen was politically radioactive. The board held an emergency vote. The result was near unanimous. Suspension, pending formal removal. Karen stormed out of the meeting, binder clutched in white-knuckled fists, her usual sharp words reduced to mutters. The following morning, a massive for sale sign appeared in her yard. Jake didn't feel triumphant, just relieved. The weight of Karen's manufactured fear lifted from the neighborhood like fog burned off by the sun. And for the first time since moving in, Ashford Hills felt like home. The final insult came in the form of a letter from Karen's lawyer threatening to sue Jake for emotional distress and community sabotage. Alex laughed when he read it. If she wants to walk into court with that case, he said, she's bringing a water pistol to a wildfire. The suit was quietly dropped within weeks. Karen Wilkins was gone. Her house sold to a young couple with a newborn and 2 rescue dogs. No fuss, no drama. Just new life where the old tyranny once stood. At the next community event, an actual neighborhood potluck organized by volunteers, not enforced by bylaws, Jake and Lena were honored with a plaque thanking them for outstanding service to Ashford Hills and the right kind of justice. Jake smiled as kids ran past, their laughter ringing through the streets that had once been ruled by fear. For the first time in a long while, it truly felt like home.